The unfortunate timing that both of our caucuses have called for internal meetings beginning at 11. I will defer my questions then and yield to Mr. Higgins. But before I do, I'll just say one thing. I want to underscore something that Chairman Womack said, and it's beyond just this committee. Our internal divisions as a Congress and increasingly as a country is a massive national security threat. And all of us as elected officials have a real responsibility, a solemn responsibility, to not play into that or exacerbate it, but to attempt to heal the divide. Because if not, we're going down a very dangerous road. And with that, I will yield to Mr. Higgins.
We'll give Mr. Higgins his full 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member, and thank you, distinguished panel here. I would prefer to look at this issue from a position of strength. The United States is 5% of the world's population. We're 25% of the world's economy. You look at every measure, and it's reported clearly in The Economist magazine about the growth of American prosperity within a world context. In 1990, America represented 40% of the wealth of the top 7 economies in the world. Today, it's 58%. You look at productivity, you look at the workforce in America, it far exceeds that in the last 20 years of Europe, of China, of Japan. And the American economy does best when we invest in the growth of the American economy. So when we look at debt and deficit, we have to look at the contemporary history. And America grows down its debt and deficit when the economy grows. So finding ways to expand the middle class is essential to dealing with debt and deficit over the longer term. You know, Peter Drucker, the great Harvard economist in the 1960s and 70s, said that the whole purpose of creating an economy is to create a middle class. They pay our taxes, they fight our wars, they protect our neighborhoods, they teach our children, they take care of our people in terms of health care. And the strength of a society generally is viewed based on the size of your middle class. So I think that is essentially important. You think about all of the difficulty that we've overcome as a nation, particularly in the age of the pandemic. You know, nobody was lining up for Russian and Chinese vaccines. They were lining up for American vaccines and the messenger RNA technology that was developed with taxpayer dollars. With taxpayer dollars over a 30-year period. It's the genetic material that tells a cell to make a protein, which is the active ingredient in the vaccine. It saved 1 million people and helped cure another 45 million people. 12, the top universities in the world, of the 15 top universities in the world, are in the United States. We are a dynamic economy. We are an innovative economy. We are a destination for people all over the world that want to experience the American dream. And when they succeed, we succeed as a nation. So I appreciate all the talk about how horrible things are. But let me tell you something. They ain't all that horrible. And Bloomberg Analytics in February of this year had 15 economists focus in on 15 areas of the American economy. They said, not me, that Joe Biden is on his way to being the greatest jobs-producing president in the history of the United States. The unemployment rate is at a 54-year low. Last year at this time, inflation was at 8.1%. Now it's down to about 3% and continues to come down. So Democrats and Republicans, many of whom here profess to be concerned only about the American people and the American economy, and I believe that. But I think all of us would be much better off focusing in on the strength of America as a basis from which to grow and to deal with our problems and stop pointing fingers, because historically, each party has played a role in the responsibility for the decline. But each party should also be embracing and celebrating the great economy that is built, and that of which is America. So, Mr. Yarmouth, I would say to you, as the former chair of this committee, your views about how we can use the strength of the American economy and the dynamic nature of the American economy within the context of the global economy to continue to grow and create opportunities for the American people.
Well, I appreciate your comments, Mr. Higgins, and what I would say is, I think when you look at the American economy, this is the question that everybody should ask when we're talking about debt and deficits, because $33 trillion, the vast majority of that $33 trillion represents investments that the government has made in the American people. That money has gone into the economy, it's gone into the American people's hands. And until the Fed began raising interest rates just a year and a half or so ago, you can make a pretty strong case that the national debt grew by a significant amount without any negative impact on the economy, on the strength of the dollar, on interest rates, and/or inflation. And the pandemic changed everything and created a situation which will take years to analyze. But we went from basically 2008 to 2020 with a huge growth in the federal debt, and again, no negative impact on any of those key factors. So that's why I suggest that we really have to, before we start talking about whether the debt and deficits are problems, we ought to actually try to get a really good look at what is sustainable and what's not. And we are a sovereign currency. We can print all the money we want to serve the people whom we serve. And so I don't know what the right measurement is. Japan has national debt that's 240% of their GDP. They issue bonds from their government with statutory 0% interest rate, and people buy them. So we can answer the question, why are we paying interest on the money we borrow? And why do we borrow money anyway? We can print it and put it in the Treasury. So I just think there's a lot of analysis that we need to do to look at how the money system works in this country and whether we really have something to worry about. And again, with the strong economy, I think you can make a pretty strong case that our debt is not holding us back at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gentleman's time has expired. We're going to move